And it is January 14th, and we are back with another episode of Crunch Time, first one of 2019 year. I'm Noah Elkin.
I'm Austin Mann. As usual, we have a variety of topics from the amazing world of sports, and Noah adapt me with that first one.
All right, Austin. Well, we got a lot to cover today, as you know, we've been away for a few weeks. Most notably, the NFL regular season has come to a close. So before we start talking about the playoffs, we wanted to give out who we thought earned awards and whatnot for this season. So Austin, who's your MVP?
Patrick Mahomes, without a doubt, the only quarterback this season to throw for 5,000 yards and over 50 touchdowns. Last time we saw that was Peyton Manning, who got 49 out of the 50 votes. So, without a doubt, Mahomes should win this. And if he doesn't win, I understand Drew Brees is in the midst of a career season, but if you look at his stats compared to Mahomes, Mahomes is definitely the better quarterback this season.
Yeah, I know disagreeing is good for views and such, but I gotta agree with you here. I think Patrick Mahomes has to be the MVP. Like you mentioned, I know the Drew Brees story is there. He's having a career year. He hasn't won an MVP yet, despite being one of the best quarterbacks in the league for his whole career. Yet, again, if you do look at the stats, it's got to be Mahomes, especially for, I know he's a second-year player, but basically a rookie when it comes to actual playing time. You just don't really see that too much.
Yeah, and I think if Drew Brees showed more consistency towards the end, because, those last few games he kind of didn't really do much in the passing game, I think Brees would have been the runaway choice. But right now, just since Mahomes never really cooled down, you can't argue against him just because he was great all year and he's still playing great. So
yeah, and aside aside from the consistency from Pat arguably being more consistent than Brees, he was more flashy too. There was that left-handed pass, there was the no-look pass. Yeah, he was just. Not only did he feel more fun to watch, but I think he is more valuable to his team, and this year he does deserve the MVP.
Yeah, just because you look at the Chiefs last year, and they were a good team, but Alex Smith was a good quarterback, but he was the one holding them back from making the Super Bowl, just because you couldn't really rely on him to make those clutch plays when the game's on the line, and then Mahomes has that it factor that's probably going to bring Kansas City over the hump, I think. And I think Andy Reid might win his first Super Bowl this season just because of Mahomes.
It's a real possibility.
Yeah.
All right, Austin, how about your offensive player of the year?
This one's a tough one. I'd like to say DeAndre Hopkins. I'd also like to say Todd Gurley. I'm kind of mixed between those two.
All right, well, let me help you out. I'm going to go first, and I'm going to boldly go with DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously Todd Gurley had a great year, probably the best running back in the league. He had an insane amount of touchdowns. I'm not sure exactly how many off the top of my head. But I want to shout out DeAndre Hopkins because, in my mind, he's cemented himself as the best wide receiver currently in the NFL. This season, he had 115 catches and, more impressively, 0 drops. He had over 1,500 yards and 11 touchdowns. For me, if I were to be a quarterback in the NFL and there's one guy who I want on my team to throw to, it's DeAndre Hopkins, because I just don't feel like there's anyone else who can go up to a spot and just haul it down honestly, like Hopkins can.
I think he can be this generation's Larry Fitzgerald, just because think about how great he's been, and no one really talked about him until this season, and now people are starting to realize, man, he's been great for a while. And I think just with the ability to not drop passes just shows that he is going to have a long career, even though NFL receivers kind of wear out at 30. But I think right now he's a deep threat, but as he ages into his 30s, I definitely see him becoming more of a possession type guy, just because he has the skill to
Well, I mean, yeah, he's a deep threat guy now, but they also like to use him with shorter passes too. He's a great run after the catch guy. And it's, no disrespect to Julio Jones, Antonio Brown, Odell, Michael Thomas, but for me, it's Hopkins is the best wide receiver in the league.
I feel like if top 3 though for offensive player of the year has got to be DeAndre Hopkins, Todd Gurley, and Michael Thomas.
Mhm.
Just because Michael Thomas was the only reliable receiving threat on the Saints, and he was getting double covered pretty much like the entire season, just because, who else can catch passes like the way he can on the
Right.
Saints offense?
Right.
Nobody. So I think in terms of like value, I think DeAndre Hopkins should win, but I also see a scenario where Todd Gurley does win just because he does so much for his team too. Like, in addition to him being able to catch passes, he's also their number one running threat. He's like their right now, since Cooper Kupp got injured, he's their number 3 receiver right now, and he's playing like the majority of the snaps. But they also have C.J. Anderson now too.
Who's been balling?
He's been balling.
Yeah. Okay, but you're going with Hopkins over Gurley for offensive player of the year?
I can't
Yeah,
really.
you got to make a decision, Austin.
This one's hard. I would just say I'll just go with Gurley just because, you said Hopkins.
All right, I like it. Fair enough. All right, defensive player of the year. I'm going to start this one off. The way that Khalil Mack started off the year, he had his first 4 games with the Bears. He had a sack and a forced fumble. I really thought he was going to run away with it, but Aaron Donald, man, if you saw defensive players getting MVPs ever, Aaron Donald is an MVP candidate. He is the best defensive tackle that the league has seen in a very long time. So for me, I got to go Aaron Donald. on this one.
Without a doubt, Aaron Donald. Just because, you've never seen... I haven't watched a player in so long that is as dominant in the run-stopping game as he is in the pass-rushing game. And think about it. He's like 20 sacks this year, and he's playing defensive tackle. Defensive tackles don't really rush the quarterback.
Right.
They're more so just, stopping
the run.
The run.
For sure.
But, with him, he's just kind of like 2 great players in just one man. And so I can't really argue against him.
It's amazing how athletic he is for his size. He's so fast.
Yeah,
he's so strong.
The thing is, though, he's 6'1" and 280 pounds or something like that. But this dude can move like a freaking wide receiver.
Yeah, he hauls, bro.
Yeah, honestly, that's probably after Mahomes, this is probably the slam dunk pick.
Mm-hmm.
No question.
All right, let's move on to rookies. Offensive rookie of the year for you, Austin.
Baker Mayfield.
Bold. Why is that?
I just think that Baker Mayfield, he had his struggles early on, but I think it was more so to the coaching, just because, Hugh Jackson and Todd Haley, his former coach and offensive coordinator, just didn't get along. And I just think as a young quarterback, that hurts your development just because you're trying to please everybody. And it's I think he was conflicted on what he should do, and I think it just put a lot of stress on him. But once they fired him, Baker Mayfield turned it on. He won so many games for them, and I just think that he just turned around the Browns franchise.
Mm-hmm.
He is the face of that franchise, and I just think that in terms of impact, Baker Mayfield should have it.
So yeah, for me, if we're talking about rookie MVP, then I think you have a very strong case for Baker Mayfield. But in terms of offensive rookie of the year, I think you got to go Saquon Barkley. I mean, he is already a top 5, arguably top 3 running back in the league as a rookie.
That's bold. I don't know about that.
I mean, the way that he moves is no one really moves like Saquon Barkley does.
I know, but think about is he better than Todd Gurley? Is he better than Ezekiel Elliott? Is he better than Alvin Kamara right now?
I think he could be better than Ezekiel Elliott. I think he's on a similar level to Alvin Kamara, but they have very different styles. So it's hard to compare. That's why I threw in the word arguably top 3.
Yeah.
But no, in my opinion, I think it's probably Todd Gurley, Saquon Barkley, and then probably Alvin Kamara. Shout out to Melvin Gordon. Shout out to Ezekiel Elliott. But yeah, no, that's probably how I would
that's
tally
fair.
it up.
That's fair. Just because he was for a good portion of the season until Eli finally turned it on week 10.
Right.
He was the Giants' offense, but I just think Baker Mayfield just had a special season, and I just think that watching him grow throughout throughout this year it just was just amazing. Just because people kind of always doubted him, and I always believed him just because the thing that motivates him the most is haters, and there's so much hate surrounding him, and he just wanted to prove them wrong. So I think he did prove so many people wrong. So that's why I would give it to him. But they're both very, very legit arguments. I think.
For sure. It'd be fun to watch both of those players next year and their progression. All right, defensive rookie of the year.
Darius Leonard, without a doubt.
We're agreed in this one. I'm gonna read you this stat line. Not only did he lead the league in tackles, but he had 7 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, and 2 interceptions as a middle linebacker.
Think about that. A middle linebacker doesn't usually rush the pass. They're usually just asked to mostly stop the run and just drop back in coverage. But the fact that he still got 7 sacks and still leading the league in tackles just amazes me. This guy is As a rookie, this guy is all over the field, and I definitely see him becoming and being in the defensive player of the year conversation next year.
And people knew he was good in college, but I don't think they knew he was even close to this level.
Yeah, I mean, he was a second-round pick, which shows that he has a lot of talent, but I just don't think people expected him to have the skills just because he played at a smaller school. You don't know, his competition was a step down from where the majority of players play, but he really just showed up and showed out and really just turned around the entire the Colts defense. Tell me how they went from god awful to super good.
Well, actually, that's a great segue into our next award, comeback player of the year, Andrew Luck.
Yep.
Come on. I mean, what else can you say about the kid? He was gone for almost 2 full seasons. Comes back. He's a borderline MVP candidate. Leads his team to the playoffs despite a 1-5 start. There's really nobody else in my mind who is on par for this award.
I'd say the person closest would probably have to be J.J. Watt, but even then, Andrew Luck.
Or how about Ryan Fitzpatrick?
No.
Yeah, no. So Andrew Luck runs away with comeback player of the year.
Without a doubt. If there's 3 easy picks, it's got to be Mahomes for MVP, Donald for defensive player of the year, and Luck for comeback player of the year. Those 3 awards don't happen. I just think the NFL's rigged.
All right, and lastly, coach of the year. Who do you got?
It's between Frank Reich and Matt Nagy, but I'll give it to Reich just because the Colts started at 1-5, and it's easy to get discouraged as a first year coach and as a team when you're slumping, but rather than just fall deep into that slump, they turned things around. He still kept them motivated. He kept pushing his team, and you can tell they want to play for him, and I think they play hard for him too, and I think that showed this season and during their playoff run, and I think that he should win the coach there just because he has those traits and intangibles that position him as probably maybe an elite head coach a few years down the line if he continues the success.
Yeah, he certainly had a great year. For me, I think I would be on Team Nagy, just because of the offensive mastermind theme. I love that kind of shit. The Bears were not a good football team last year. Their defense was all right. Then they traded for Khalil Mack, upgraded their defense with a couple picks. But the offense was always a step behind, and that's where Matt Nagy came in, and he took their pieces, he schemed it up, and he made them a pretty powerful offense in the NFL. Made it to the playoffs. Should have won that football game against the Eagles. It is what it is, but yeah, I don't know. I like to call him Matt Andy Reid Nagy. That's my little joke.
Yeah, I mean it's tough, but I think Reich should win it just because he turned around a team.
Yeah, absolutely a fair opinion.
But I understand too. Nagy turned around a team too, so it's kind of they're both guys without doubt top 2.
Yeah,
I won't be mad if either of them win.
Yeah, if this was the MLB and we could give an award for each conference, I think that those would be the conference winners. I think looking forward to next year, teams that to me stand out as having a good chance to make a jump are. I think we talked about the Browns turning it around. By the end of the year, they were a better team than their record indicated. They started the year with Tyrod Taylor and Hugh Jackson. and did not start well. Closed out very strongly. I think the Niners have a really good chance. Jimmy Garoppolo will be coming back. Jerick McKinnon will be coming back. They had the second pick in the draft. There's been rumors of Antonio Brown potentially coming to San Francisco. And the Ravens, I know the Ravens made the playoffs this year, but I feel like for most of the year they were not on very many people's radar.
Yeah.
I think the way that they play is really interesting. It's mostly defense and a run game, which is kind of old school NFL. It'll be interesting to see how that works going forward. Can they win consistently with that kind of scheme and Lamar Jackson at QB? What happens to Flacco, etc.?
Yeah.
Any other teams stand out to you?
I agree definitely with the 49ers and Browns, but I would add one team. I'd say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, just because they hired Bruce Arians as their coach. And the problem with the Bucs is their defense has always been all right, but they throw too many interceptions. And I think Bruce Arians, the offensive genius he is, will design an offense that maximizes Jameis Winston's ability, but still help him protect the ball better. And I think also Winston will want to play for him just because their relationship goes way before he even entered the league, even way before he even entered college. So I think having that coach that Winston wants to play for will put him over the hump, and I think the Buccaneers will be a sleeper team. I don't think they're going to win their division just because you still have the Saints there, but I definitely see them finishing 9-7, 10-6, and be the two wild card teams, one of the two wild card teams next year.
All right. Personally, I don't see it, but all right. Let's look at the NFL current playoff picture. The Chiefs and the Pats will play on Sunday, as will the Rams against the Saints. Awesome to me. Any of these four teams has a very legitimate shot at winning it all. In preparation for recording this podcast today, I asked myself, if I had to pick one of these four teams to win the Super Bowl right now, who'd it be? And it took me a very long time to choose. I think, like I said, all of them are very good, but I went with the Rams specifically based on the fact that I just feel like their defense is going to be a deciding factor. All these teams have at least decent defenses, but the Rams, to me, are the only ones that are borderline elite
Really?
right now.
I don't know. I just think the Rams' defense I think they do have a really, very, really big hole in the secondary just because, they get kind of torched sometimes in the secondary. But their pass rush is definitely legendary. Because they have Aaron Donald, obviously.
Not to mention Ndamukong Suh.
Yeah. But I think in terms of just, all three levels of the defense, consistency, I would have to give it the Saints. But just because the Rams have more of an elite pass rush and run stop, I think it could give them the edge into game, especially with Drew Brees kind of slumping as of late. But if I had to choose one team that would win the Super Bowl, I would hands down go with the Chiefs, just because there's not been a defense I feel that Patrick Mahomes has not torched. And I think even you can do your best to prepare for him, but this guy just knows how to throw a football, and you can cover, you can put the tightest coverage on the receiver, but Patrick Mahomes has enough talent to make sure that ball only is put in the hands of his receiver.
Right, and in terms, you look at Tyreek Hill, and he's a guy who you can double him, you can do design a scheme specifically for him, but at some point he's gonna get open, and when he does, Patrick Mahomes is probably not gonna miss.
Yeah, and if Tyreek Hill's all double covered and stuff, Travis Kelce's probably wide open in the middle.
Right.
There's just too many threats, I think, on the Chiefs, just because you have that. I think honestly this might be one of the best passing offenses I've ever will ever see, and the fact that it's still gonna go on next year, man, that's
for a long time probably.
If they just get another stud running back, I mean, Kareem Hunt, you shouldn't be in the league, you don't deserve that anymore. But if they find another Alvin Kamara type running back, that would be so deadly. Imagine Mahomes running the screen plays and stuff.
Yeah, a running back who can catch passes. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Just because he's so flashy and he's so clever that I would love to see him run some
right. And with that type of player, Andy Reid is gonna come up with some flashy shit that's just gonna work. You know. All right, let's. There's been 8 head coach openings this year. Most have been filled, or we know who is going to be taking that spot. Anyways, we're just gonna briefly run through a few of them. Zach Taylor will likely be filling the Bengals job.
No one wants that job, though, to be honest.
I mean,
It's still a job. It's still an NFL.
It's still an NFL head coaching job. Zach Taylor, if you don't know, is the current QB coach for the Rams under Sean McVay. A lot of the head coach hirings have kind of felt like trying to land the next Sean McVay.
I mean, I feel like all teams are trying to land the next Sean McVay except the Broncos.
Right. Well, so in Green Bay, Matt LaFleur was hired. He's worked alongside McVay.
Offensive coordinator for him last year.
Right. Yeah. No, they worked together on the Redskins and the Rams. LaFleur has worked with Matt Ryan, Marcus Mariota, and Jared Goff. So that's a pretty good resume. And I think the last hire that we're going to talk about slightly more in depth is Cliff Kingsbury, hired as the Cardinals head coach. This is probably the most controversial head coach hiring. You wanna let them know why?
It's just like this guy had a 35-40 record in college football, in the Big 12, and like the Big 12 is known for having big offenses and no defenses, but like still, I just don't justify the NFL or the Cardinals hiring a guy to be their head coach who just got fired from a lower level league and has no experience whatsoever coaching in the NFL. Yeah, he's coached a lot of quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes, Case Keenum, Johnny Manziel, all those people. But at the end of the day, like you the NFL is a different monster. Like you're dealing, rather than dealing with like young men, you're dealing with grown ass men who are not going to take a lot of stuff, and like I don't know if he's going to have that respect when he first, like his first day on the job, when he first opens up camp. I just don't know. Like I'm not questioning his offensive, like I definitely think he can design an offense for Josh Rosen to shine in, but I just don't know if he has the like those aspects that you need for a head coach, like someone you want to play for, a strong leader. I just don't see it right now. I think if he had time in the NFL working around like grown men, like I would support it. But just because he was just fired as a college head coach and he's never had any experience coaching in the NFL, like I just don't see the hiring justified.
Yeah, I mean, time will tell. One notable stat is in his 6 years with Texas Tech, all 6 years, his offense averaged over 30 points a game. 2 of those years, over 40 points a game.
With Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback.
Right. But you're right. You know, at the end of the day, in the NFL, it's about winning, and he didn't do as much of that at Texas Tech as he probably would have liked. All right.
They just think the Cardinals probably just think they hired the next Sean McVay.
Yeah, time will tell. Time will tell. All right, we're just gonna blaze through these last few topics that we have. Kyler Murray, Heisman winner, had a deal worked out with the Oakland A's to go play there.
Little hurt, 'cause that's my team.
Right. Today, actually, he declared for the NFL draft.
Yeah. Like, people are just assuming that he's choosing football over baseball, and yeah, he probably is. But, like, people don't know, though, like, he still has the option to return to the A's. Like, right now, he's entered his name, but he could still easily negotiate a contract with the A's and just withdraw his name.
Yeah, I heard something along the lines of he's seeking $15 million from the A's, and if he doesn't get that, he'll probably try his luck in the NFL.
I don't know. I've been reading a lot about this too, and sources are mixed about where that information came from. But what I've been hearing as of late is like the Oakland A's might offer him a major league contract even before he hasn't played baseball in over a year. But I get it, just because as a guy whose primary sport was football, he put up numbers like last year for the Oklahoma baseball team. He had like a .296 batting average, like 10 home runs and 46 RBIs, and while also doing like spring football for Oklahoma. And like I just think he has those athletic tools But at the end of the day, I'd much rather see Kyler Murray play football than baseball.
Yeah, I think a lot of people look at it and be like, oh, well, in theory you can make more money in the MLB. You'll probably have a longer career, which are both valid points. But at the same time, if he goes to the MLB, first he has to go through the minors. He'll have to go through a couple of contracts before he lands a big one. Whereas if he goes to the NFL, if he's a first-round pick, he's going to make money right off the bat. And even if he doesn't make quite as much through his contract or he has a shorter career, he just looks like he has fun playing football. Not to mention the money you can make in endorsement deals as a starting NFL quarterback versus an MLB player.
Plus, it's just like with Kyler Murray, I think it's without a doubt everyone knew he loved football. The only thing that was holding him back from his love was that pro scouts always just said he was too short. But once he finally got to show, like, people, like, yo, I could actually play. And, like, my height is the least important thing.
Yeah, bro, Drew Brees is listed as 6 foot, but we all know he's 5'11", 5'10".
Yeah, Kyler Murray's 5'10", and he's not afraid to show. He might be 5'9", but the thing is, though, like, it doesn't really matter. I feel like height is the least important thing of a quarterback. You obviously want a guy who can throw the ball, who can make the right reads, and who can just make plays and help your team win.
I agree. Height is not the most important thing. However, when you think about tip balls and stuff, like that's come back to haunt Kirk Cousins quite a bit. But we'll see. I think he has an insane amount of potential.
But the thing is, though, with Kyler Murray is if he goes into the league and he's like first round pick, starting QB, without a doubt, I would say Kyler Murray might have the best arm in the NFL. Like him, and I mean, obviously you got to watch him play, but think about it, like, he has so many freaking dimes. And last year with Oklahoma, like, he was their entire team. He carried that team. So I just think that, Kyler Murray is an NFL quarterback, and I think he's shown he deserves a chance in the league. And obviously I'm hurt that he's not going to play for the A's, but...
Hey, maybe the Raiders take him.
Yeah, maybe the Raiders do take him. Win-win.
All right.
Then they're moving to Las Vegas.
Right.
Then lose.
All right. How about college football? The season ended over break. Clemson won the championship over Bama, and that game wasn't too close. A lot of after the game, a lot of people were talking about the turning of the tide in terms of who's at the top of college football, and Bama's not going away by any means, but admittedly that was a large margin of victory for Clemson.
Yep, I just think Alabama. I think it was more so in their preparation. Just because they look so unprepared to face Trevor Lawrence. Like, they didn't expect Trevor Lawrence to just torch him that quickly. But, I think if they had another chance, obviously I think they'd play him better, they'd prep much better, scheme around, or just, set up their defense around his skills. But I definitely think, though, Clemson deserved to win. And I'm happy they won because I see Alabama as like the Patriots of college football. And so anytime the Patriots lose, I'm happy.
I think it'll be interesting to see what recruiting looks like in this upcoming year because Bama is always, up there in terms of the recruits that they're able to land. But, a lot of people are talking about how Clemson just seems like a more fun place to play.
I mean, I'd rather play for Dabo Swinney than
Nick Saban. Yeah,
because I don't know, Dabo, just based on their names alone, Dabo Swinney, these are just sounds like a cool dude.
But you see Swinney dancing in the locker room, and Saban has a very Bill Belichick kind of aura about him. So I think recruiting will be interesting to watch this year.
Yeah.
All right, we're just gonna blaze through these last remaining topics. DeMarcus Cousins eyeing January 18th
this
return.
Friday. Watch the game
against the LA Clippers.
I definitely hope he comes off the bench. I mean, obviously, I know he's going to start, but I just hope he plays the majority of his minutes with the bench unit.
Yeah, okay. Clint Capella is going to miss 4 to 6 weeks for a thumb injury. This is pretty big for a major player in a contending team. Especially considering the Rockets are already without Chris Paul right now.
With I don't think any timetable to return it just yet.
4 to 6 weeks.
No, Chris Paul.
Oh, for Chris Paul. Right, correct. Okay, John Wall's season is done.
Wizards season's already lost. Doesn't matter.
So I guess my question would be, do you think we see the Wizards trading away some of their large contracts, the Bradley Beals, the Otto Porter Jr.?
I definitely see them trading away Otto Porter just because he has a more tradable contract. but teams definitely want Bradley Beal. But I think if there's one person the Wizards got to make untouchable, it's Bradley Beal, just because he's still relatively young. And I see if they go for a Reed Beal, it's not going to take as long as like the Suns will, just because they already have that foundation in place.
All right. And lastly, Tom Thibodeau has been fired. Finally. You know, we all felt it coming for a long time. It's finally happened. Ryan Saunders has been promoted to the interim head coach. He was formerly just an assistant. He will likely not be the long-term coach moving forward.
I mean, who knows? I think if his dad's Flip Saunders, who has a lot of pull in the Minnesota Timberwolves organization, and I think if he connects with Andrew Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns, I definitely see him holding down this job. But they also want to hire Fred Hoiberg.
I've heard that. That would Timber Bulls 3.0, baby.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Just fire one. I mean, honestly, if Jim Boylen becomes on the market, like, he'll probably become the Timberwolves coach just based on the trends right now.
Yeah. All right. That's it for us today. Thanks for tuning in to Crunch Time. I'm Noah Elkin.
I'm Austin, man. See y'all next week.